quieten down a little bit, let's all sit straight in the chair. When you're comfortable, close your eyes. And 3 times with me, we will chant long Om. Please chant with me. Om. Gently open your eyes. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Sajjit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Tapaharini. Thank you for welcoming me into this beautiful space. This is called Dham. In India we have the term Dham. Vrindavan Dham. Kashi Dham, Puri Dham. Dham is the abode of the divine. And here you have Radha and Krishna, Vinayaka is there, Mahadeva is there, this side Jagannath, Mahaprabhu is there, and all the other forms of the divine. One divinity, Satchit Ananda in Vedanta, one existence, consciousness, bliss, shining forth in different divine names and forms. And where that presence is most evident, that is called Dham. There is a saying, Sri Ramakrishna was fond of it, Chinmay Sham Chinmay Dham. Just as God is consciousness, pure consciousness, Satchidananda, the Dham also shares in the divine nature. So the nature of the Dham is Sat, it is pure existence. The nature of Dhama is Chit, pure awareness, consciousness which manifests the divine, is most manifest here. And also Ananda, because the joy that you feel here, it's not an earthly joy, it's a sattvic joy that we feel here. Happiness comes from that divine sattvic joy. I have a question that, no, happiness, you have to be rich and young, beautiful and learned and successful. All of those things bring pleasure. They bring some kind of satisfaction, but nothing lasting. Nothing deep, nothing lasting. It can boost the ego a little bit, give you a little bit of sense of satisfaction, but very, very soon it goes away. And always we are left with the question, what next? Very soon, wealth, health, learning, degrees, success. Ultimately it does not stay. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that zeros, no matter how many zeros you put, no value. But you put 1, then 1 0, 1 has also a value of its own. But put 1 0, value is 10. Put 2 zeros, value is 100, and so on. So all of these things are important. I'm not dismissing the importance of the word. I'm not dismissing the importance of worldly success, learning, of physical health, strength, prosperity. All of that is good and necessary, but not sufficient to give you lasting satisfaction and peace. What will give you lasting satisfaction and peace? This. What is embodied here in these forms, that divinity, that is the source. Bhakti leads to happiness. A Swami in the Himalayas, he said in Hindi, Turant man ki shanti chahiye. You want peace of mind immediately? Yes, meditate, dhyan. You want a clean mind, peaceful sleep at night. Shuddha man, nishkam karma. selfless service. Act without selfish motive. And he said, do you want to be happy? Do you want to be happy right now? Yes, everybody said. Then you love God, fall in love with God. If a person has love in his or her heart, it immediately gives happiness. That light and warmth of love gives happiness. But if it's a love for something worldly, a worldly person, or even something in the world, it gives mixed happiness. But if it is love for God, for the divine, it gives unmixed happiness. So that love for the divine, which gives unmixed happiness right now, bhakti. And most of us we have, otherwise you wouldn't be here in a temple. Most of us we have some kind of faith in God, some bhakti we have God. But why are we not getting that happiness? There is a saying that bhakti, devotion to God, love of God, is compared to a lady, a beautiful lady, who has two children, two sons. And the sons are Jnana and Vairagya, knowledge and dispassion for the world. Bhakti is happy when those two are happy, because they are her children. The result of bhakti should be knowledge, jnana. What is jnana? In terms of jnana, basically spiritual knowledge is realizing our own true nature, that we are Satchidananda, that's Vedanta. But in terms of bhakti, where the divine, the Parameshwara, the Lord, Saguna Brahman, is most manifest, most clear, not doubtful, that clarity, that certainty, that conviction is jnana in terms of bhakti. And that devotion to God, it should be coupled with vairagya. The pull of the world. The world is pulling me. Why am I here? See, why are we in a temple? There could be two answers. One is, common answer is, this is good for my life. The other answer is, my life for this. There are two kinds of religion, a lower and a higher religion. What you might call religion and spirituality. What is the lower religion, the conventional religion? God helps me in my life, so it's good. A lot of things are useful in life. Washing machine is useful in life, a car is useful in life, a television set or computer is useful in life. So you have all of them in your life, and God is also useful in life. Have a little bit of God in your life also. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sri Krishna clearly says that those who worship me because they want something in the world, that's also good, because they have some kind of faith in God. It's a good beginning. But that is conventional religion, the lower religion. The problem of the world will still affect you. The higher religion, spirituality, is not God for my life for God. There's a difference. God for my life is ultimately my success, my health, wealth and prosperity in life is important. So if I have to come and put a little bit of money before God and pour some water, I do it. Sunday mein aur kya karna hai? So let me go and do it. And in any case, even if I don't have any particular desire in life, at least Bhagavan won't be annoyed with me, God won't be annoyed with me. So out of a kind of anxiety, boss should not be annoyed with me, our relatives should not be annoyed with me, and God should not be annoyed with me. These are things which keep peace in the world. That's a kind of religion, that's mass religion, and that's not bad, but that's kindergarten. We must progress beyond that. Why? Because that will not take you up beyond suffering. You're still in samsara. Sometimes people say, oh, I don't believe in God, I've stopped going to temples and all. Why? I prayed, I wanted something, I prayed and prayed and prayed, nothing happened. So God was hired to do a job, did not perform, laid off. Lost his job, fired. That is the lower religion, where God is there for what will He give to me. But at one point, we must go into the higher religion, spirituality, which is what Vedanta is about. Where my life becomes for spirituality, for God, not God for my life for God. And why would I want that? That actually gives you real happiness, real peace, lasting peace and joy comes from that. Swami Vivekananda in one place he said, we think that when we act for ourselves, money and pleasure and people and all of this is for me, if I get it, I will be happy. Why am I doing all this? So I'll be happy. If I pull everything towards me, I'll be happy. But we never are. Selfish action never leads to lasting happiness. Swami Vivekananda says, it takes a mature soul, it takes some maturity to realize unselfish action leads to happiness. Not sakama karma, but nishkama karma leads to happiness. So that is the subject today. How can this high philosophy of Vedanta be made practical in our day-to-day lives? What is the need? The need is this. Here is a temple, very beautiful. It serves your religious needs. On Sundays maybe you come here, on Saturdays, on holy days or something. But the question always remains, there is a demarcation. Once you go outside this campus, it's the world outside, secular world, spiritual world. And then people say, I have no time to come to the temple because the demands of the world outside. I have no time to meditate. I have no time to read the Gita. So this is the problem. There's a continuous pull, tug of war. And if there's a tug of war between world and God, who will win? The world will win. Because you have to live in the world. There's a job and a family to take care of, and school to attend, and things to do in the world. You have to eat. And God is always there. Can be taken care of later. He'll come back soon. When I have time. When I retire. I was very interested in spirituality when I was a little kid. And my mom used to scold me and say, this is for old people. Why do you go and sit in the ashram? You should go and play or something like that. But I had some other generation of my grandmother, like a grand aunt, an elderly lady. She once pulled me aside. I was a little kid. After my mom scolded me and she walked out of the room, this old lady, she pulled me close and she said, you have started at this age, it's very good. When you become old, it does not work so well. It's good that you're doing the right thing. How to make this practical? Why? Because if you divide two things, temple is spiritual, outside the temple is secular, then the spiritual life will always take a backseat. When I have time, only sometime on Sunday or Saturday weekend, and that to some weekend not. And maybe after retirement and so on and so forth. So how can we spiritualize whole of life? The life outside this temple also. How can the whole thing be spiritualized? That is what practical Vedanta is about. And Vedanta always was practical. When we hear Vedanta, oh my God, Upanishads and it's a high philosophy and Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutras, very difficult, dry philosophy. But Swami Vivekananda said, this dry philosophy must be made practical and useful in day-to-day life. If it's just intellectual gymnastics, then what is the use of it? It must be useful in your life and my life. And Vedanta was practical to begin with. After all, think about it. Where was the Gita taught? Sri Krishna is there. Did he teach the Gita in a Hindu temple? Which ashram? Which mountain top? No, the Gita was taught in the battlefield of life. Which sannyasi taught the Gita? To which brahmachari? No, not for monks. Sri Krishna was a householder. Arjuna was a householder. And did Arjuna ask about meditation and all of that? Later on he did. But the first question was problem in life. This terrible situation I am in, how do I get out of this? What do I do now? And instead of answering him directly, Sri Krishna teaches him Vedanta. Teaches him about the real nature, that you are not a body and mind, you are Atman. And that gives a real solution to. So to worldly problems also, ultimate solution is spiritual solution. So Vedanta was always practical. Swami Vivekananda said that Vedanta was discussed and practiced by the great emperors and kings of yore, of old times. Arjuna is a king. Janaka was a king, emperor. So and they were people with tremendous responsibility, tremendous power. Much more busy than us. Even here in 21st century in America, still you are not as busy as one of those emperors or kings who ruled entire kingdoms. And yet they found time, they found it useful to discuss and practice Vedanta. So it must be practical. They are enormously practical people. It must be practical. This practical Vedanta, this is what we are going to speak about. Whatever you do in life with desire, ultimately we see it does not lead to lasting peace and satisfaction. I was just mentioning, before I came from Manhattan, I've been traveling for 2 months now. So in July, in Manhattan, in June, just before I left New York, 2 tragedies happened. You may have seen on the news that the great chef, Anthony Bourdain, he committed suicide. I had heard his name. The other one, I had not heard her name until the tragedy. Kate Spade. Yes, somebody told me that she was a very great fashion designer. And then later I used to walk down Amsterdam, Broadway, those big shops are there. So Kate Spade collection. Now see, these 2 people. I later read a Time magazine article on that. I was sitting in the library and reading that. And they say that we must think. Here are 2 examples who have fulfilled the American dream, the dream of success in our 21st century world to the fullest. They are rich, they are healthy, they are successful, and they're successful in the way they want to be successful. That is, they're creative, they're doing really well in their own chosen field. Really leading what one might call cool lives in America. So everything, they have got glamour and success and popularity and wealth and an enormous number of admirers. They are at the top of their profession, and yet something must have made them desperately unhappy enough to take their own lives. And just 2 examples. I often quote Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus. He starts, the first sentence is, the only serious philosophical question is, why should I not commit suicide? It's a sensitive person, a deep thinker who will ask that. So why should I commit suicide? I've got so much money to earn and so many things to do in the world. Yes, he has understood all of that, and after that he's asking this question. Alright, so work done with desire. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that that will ultimately not lead to happiness. So immediate reaction is, I will not do the work then. That's what Arjuna was saying to Krishna. This battle, don't make me fight this. I am not interested in this. Earlier I wanted to fight this battle because I wanted to take the kingdom. I wanted to punish the evildoers, the Kauravas. I wanted to take revenge. But all of those things I don't want it. The Mahabharata story, I don't want it anymore. I don't want those worldly things anymore. So why should I engage in action? I should withdraw from action. Maybe become a monk, he actually says. I should live upon alms like a monk. And Sri Krishna then teaches him Vedanta. How to be spiritual in the middle of the world. Don't say it's not practical for me. If it is practical for Arjuna in the battlefield, worst place, then it's practical for everybody. Whether you are a corporate executive or a doctor or a teacher or a housewife, whatever you are doing, it's practical for everybody. Not action with desire. Sakama karma. Not inaction. Akarma. Not inaction. But nishkama karma. Work done without desire. Now immediately when you say work done without desire, how is that possible? Do it with some purpose. And I had this question also. So I asked one of a senior monk many years ago. I still remember the Ramakrishna Mission in New Delhi. I was a young brahmachari at that time, a very senior monk. Around this time, after Arati, I helped him to his room. I had asked the question, how can one do work without desire? He did not answer at that time. When he was entering his room, before he closed the door, he looked at me and he said, my boy, not disinterested work, not uninterested work, but disinterested work. Not uninterested work, but disinterested work. if you look at the English dictionary, the two meanings are very interesting. We immediately think that if I have no particular gain from this work, worldly gain from this work, then I will be uninterested in it. Why should I do it? But there's another kind of word, disinterested. If you look at the English dictionary, the meaning of the word disinterested, it means that we don't have any personal gain from it. A disinterested party is one that does not have any personal, you don't have an axe to grind, you say. You don't have things to gain for yourself. But it does good to others. It is for a higher purpose. And also it is not true that there is no point in doing that work or there is no gain from doing that work. There is the highest gain. You're not doing it for a worldly gain, but you're doing it for a spiritual gain. That is there. Nishkama karma leads to chitta shuddhi in say Shankara Vedanta. So work done without desire, higher. The attitude is I am doing it not for any narrow personal gain. I remember when I came to become a monk many years ago in Ramakrishna Mission Vidyapith, Deoghar. I was a young brahmachari, and a very senior monk, Swami Gahananandaji, who was at that time the vice president of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission. Later he became the president. He was visiting. So in the evening, he called the new brahmacharis, those who had come to become monks, young people. We sat around him and he asked, why have you become sannyasis? Why do you want to become sannyasis? We have a long period of 10 years of training and then we become sannyasis. So why do you want to become monks? So we told what was in our minds. I have come for God realization. Actually, basically what you've read in the books. I want God realization. I want peace. I want I want to lead a noble life. And then he just listened quietly. He's a very quiet man. He listened quietly and then he said, you all want to get something. You don't want to give anything. In Bengali he said, Shavai Peteshche Kyodite Ashini. You all come to get something. You have not come to give anything. And I did not like that answer. Because I thought, what can we give? We have come to learn how to meditate, how to be good monks and study Vedanta and all of this. We need to get. What can we give? We have no. But what he was teaching, I learned over the years, as 10 years passed, 20 years passed, I realized he was teaching a basic attitude. This thing, if you change your attitude, I don't want it. What I add unto myself, that will not make me happy. What I give to others, that will make me happy. That's an attitude everybody, each of us can have right now. Starting now, we can have it. And we all have it to some extent. The more you encourage that, don't worry, no harm will come to you. Immediately people think, no, what will happen to my worldly concerns? I have a family, I have medical insurance to think about. Sri Krishna says, Yoga Kshema Vahamya. I shall take care of your worldly concerns. If you surrender unto God and hold on to God and God only, use common sense. That does not mean this suddenly you will become silly. But your worldly concerns will be taken care of by God. In India, this life insurance company of India, they use it as a motto, the slogan, Yoga Kshema Vahamya. No, very well chosen. It's from the Bhagavad Gita. So, Nishkama Karma. Work done with desire, personal desire. No. No work, giving up work, no activity. No. Activity, whatever you are doing, now do it with the attitude of giving. How can we do Nishkama Karma? You can do it as worship of God. Once, Narendranath, Vivekananda, he was listening to Sri Ramakrishna at a gathering. Sri Ramakrishna was in ecstasy and he was quoting the teachings of the Vaishnavas that Jive Daya, have compassion for sentient beings, for Jiva. And then in ecstasy he said, who are you to have Daya, compassion for Jivas? Shiva Jnani Jiva Seva. Not compassion, but worship God, worship Shiva. Knowing all Jivas to be Shiva, worship God. Worship God, knowing all sentient beings to be God, worship God in all human beings. And Narendranath, when he left that place, he told others, today what I have got, if God wills, I will share it with the world one day. But that became the mantra, the sutra for practical Vedanta. Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. Vedanta in itself, the basic teaching is simple and powerful and direct. What does it say? That you are Satchidananda. You are not this body, not this mind. You are pure consciousness. How does it help us? Well, body will age and die. That pure consciousness does not die. You are immediately free of the fear of death. Sukha and dukkha, pleasure and pain are at the level of the mind. That pure consciousness is not affected by sukha and dukkha. So you are free of pleasure and pain problem also. And it's not difficult to understand also. See, this is pure consciousness, very difficult. Not difficult. There are many ways in Vedanta. I will share the most common ones, 3 most common ones right now. You see, you might become enlightened right now. Very simple ways. Drashta and Drishya. What you see that you are not. What you experience that you are not. Clearly, all this that you are seeing, the stage and the Swami standing here, the chair, even one bed is there. Somebody was saying, Swamiji, aapke liye chair hai. I said, haan, bed nahi. All of this you are seeing, and clearly you don't say that I am a chair or a stage or a bed. Go closer to yourself. The clothes that you are wearing, you see them, you experience them, but you are not the clothes that you are wearing. The seer and the seen are not the same. Drashta and Drishya must be different. Now apply it to your body. It's an object. It is experienced. You can see it, hear it, touch it, taste it, smell it. You can do all of that. It's an object to your senses. It cannot be you, the experiencer. That's it. You are not the body. Body is born, aging, changing, disease, suffering, maybe one day and it will be there for all of us. Death, but not your death or my death. Death of the body. I guarantee you here, the death of the body will also be an experience. You will see that you are not affected by it at all. Swami, can you give it in writing? I can, but you won't be able to catch me at that time. In principle, you are not affected by the changes in the body because they are objects, they are experienced. So drashta and drishya, you are not the body. Same thing applies to mind also. From morning till now, how many times happy? How many times irritated? How many times curious? What will Swamiji say today? How many times bored? What Vedanta is going on? Vedanta is going on. Same mind, happy mind, bored mind, curious mind, excited mind, irritated mind. I am the same person. Mind has changed so much. I experience the changing mind. How can I be the mind? It's a changing thing, it's an object. Like this is an object, body is an object, mind is also an object. Drashta Drishya Viveka, this is called Drik Drishya Viveka. Finished. You are the witness consciousness. Okay. Another technique is there, the Avastha-traya. We are discussing it in the center yesterday. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep. Mandukya Upanishad. Very simple. We have experiences in the waking, all of it goes away. Very soon you will fall asleep tonight. You will forget in your bedroom that you are on the bed and sleeping, all that will go away. A world of dreams will come. And then that will also go away. Deep sleep will come. And again waking world will come. You are the unaffected consciousness which experience the waking, dreaming, deep sleep. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, they keep cycling in you, the consciousness. You did not go away with the waking world. You did not go away with the dream world. You did not go away with the deep sleep. You are still here. So you are not those things. They come and shine and change and disappear in your light. So you are the witness consciousness. Same thing. Drik Drishya Viveka, Avastha-traya Viveka, same thing. Again, another method is there. Panchakosha Viveka. That you must have all heard about it. Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, and Atma, which is the consciousness. Very simple. Right now, I lift this hand. This hand which you see right now in your eyes, this is the Annamaya Kosha, the physical body. The energy that I am using for lifting the hand. Pranamaya Kosha. When you breathe in and out, prana. Hunger and thirst, prana. So Pranamaya Kosha. The thought that I have, I will lift the hand. Manomaya Kosha. You got the thought in your mind. And the clear knowledge that Kartritva, I am lifting the hand. Agentship. This is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Beyond that, there is a sense of, if there is any sense of satisfaction or fulfillment in lifting the hand, the Anandamaya Kosha, something that we experience in deep sleep. And I am the experiencer of the 5 sheets. You are the experiencer of the 5 sheets. You are the witness. You are the witness of the body, you are the witness of the vital sheet, you are the witness of the mental sheet, the intellect sheet, and the bliss sheet. So Panchakosha Viveka finished. Vedanta is not so difficult to understand at this level. Now the big question comes. How do I relate all this to the world outside? Yes, I get an understanding that I am a peaceful, unchanging witness consciousness. But what about life? What about people outside? What are all these? And how many such witness consciousnesses are there? In each body separate one? Or one? That question will come. It seems that each body has a separate consciousness in itself. So the real Vedanta starts here. Up to this is what is called Neti Neti. First step. This is called Atma Anatma Viveka. This is first step in Vedanta. I gave a talk in Santa Barbara recently. 2 steps to not to. Not to is Advaita. Advaita is not to. 2 steps to not to. The first step is this one. When you realize what you are. Neti Neti. Not the body, not the mind. Witness consciousness. Now, the second one is important. This is where practical Vedanta starts really. I think yesterday I was discussing. How many consciousnesses are there? Vedanta says there is one consciousness. In the Gita, Sri Krishna says, Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam. One consciousness in all beings, in all the millions and billions of beings, behind the billions of bodies, billions of minds, there is one consciousness. Shining through billions of bodies and minds. But they seem different. Vibhaktam eva cha sthitam. It exists as if different in all bodies and minds. But it is one. One consciousness. At the level of consciousness, at the level of body we are different. At the level of mind we are different. At the level of consciousness we are one being. This one being is what Sri Ramakrishna said, Shiva Jnani Jiva Seva. In all beings there is this one consciousness, immortal light shining continuously, ever awake. That is that one consciousness which you with divine names and forms which you are calling Radha and Krishna there, which you are calling Jagannath and Subhadra, calling Mahadev. All of these different divine names and forms, they are of that one consciousness. Where is that one consciousness? It's in you. It's in us, in all of us. This is what is called Shiva Jnani Jiva Seva. Then what about these bodies and minds in the external universe? These are also manifestations of that one consciousness. You see, the relationship between consciousness and its objects, you the Chaitanya, and all of this that we experience, what is the relationship? There 4 possible approaches. I mentioned it yesterday, I think. 4 possible approaches, and credit doesn't go to me. How nicely these philosophers have thought about it. In Uttarakhand, one sadhu, simply in 2 sentences, the entire gamut of philosophical positions. Just see. 4 sambhavana hai. He said 4 possibilities are there. One is matter is primary and consciousness is produced from matter. Matter is primary, consciousness is produced from matter. What is that view? The modern materialist, not modern, very old, Charvaka view. Consciousness is produced from matter. What is fundamental? Fundamental is body and mind. Is the body, matter is fundamental, and from that somehow consciousness is produced. Till today, in principle, with all our advanced brain science and neuroscience, we really have not gone much further than that. You know what the Charvakas used to say? How is consciousness produced in this body? What is the reality of the body? They will say, it's the 5 elements. Charvakas would say, even space they will not accept because you cannot see it. So, elements, Panchabhuta, they are the reality, and consciousness is produced by a mixture of that Panchabhuta. And the example they gave was, a very typically Indian example, you will understand. Pan, when you chew it, Charvaka says, 3,000-4,000 years ago, when you chew pan, which means they used to do it at that time also. When you chew the pan, there is nothing red in that pan, but when you chew it, the mixture of all that, your tongue becomes red, your lips become red. So just as the red color is produced by a mixture of items which are not red coloring themselves, similarly, by a mixture of non-conscious elements, consciousness is produced. Anyway, that is one position. And in principle, the latest neuroscience also has not really gone. Many theories are there now. Luckily, modern science has become interested in this whole question of consciousness. I think it's a very exciting time to be alive. And somehow in the last 20 years, consciousness studies has boomed. That is one. Another option, consciousness produces this universe. Who says that? All religions say it. All religions. When you say all religions which are theistic, which believe in God, what do we say? God created the universe. In Hinduism, we say Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. That is the idea of Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. So, creator of the universe, and that God is conscious or unconscious. Anybody believes in an unconscious God? Nobody. So, consciousness created matter, second option. Third option, Sankhya and Yoga. None created the other. They are parallel existences. Prakriti and Purusha, consciousness and matter, exist eternally and interact. Where? That's you, him and her. We are interaction of consciousness and matter, Prakriti and Purusha. The fourth option is Vedanta. One reality, that consciousness which you found within yourself, that consciousness alone appears as matter. The rope appears as a snake. So really speaking, the snake is nothing but the rope. The waves are nothing but water. The pots are nothing but clay. The ornaments are nothing but gold, and so on. Many examples. This universe is nothing but Brahman, Satchidananda. Sarvam Khalvedam Brahma. Vivekananda would say in this country, never approach anything except as God. What you hear, what you smell, what you taste, touch, the people you interact with, people you like, people you dislike, they are all that one reality which religion calls God. Oh, where is it? It's you, but the real you. First you must do that. Dridrishya Viveka or Avastatraya Vichara or Panchakosha Vichara, reach a conception, at least a grasp of what we are in reality. Then only this next thing will make sense. Otherwise, when I think that I am the body, don't worry, I have an advantage over her. I have a microphone. I can shout louder. So, when you think with the body, at this point if somebody says, you are the absolute, you are Brahman, that will be Deha Brahmavada. Body is Brahman. The story is of Virojana, the Asura, who thought his body is the ultimate reality. No. Body is not the ultimate reality, mind is not the ultimate reality. Beyond body and mind, that witness consciousness is the ultimate reality, Tattvamasi. How do you apply it now? Now what happens is, I am that Brahman, but when I look around and see everybody, everybody is that Brahman also. What is my relationship? My relationship should be one of worship. Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. See, I am laying the philosophical foundation for Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. These jivas are none other than Shiva. Shiva who is there in the divine name and form, in all the other names and forms, same Shiva is present in everybody, in all the jivas. In different ways, in different schools of Vedanta, this is basically the idea, the immanence of divinity in all beings. Now, How do you worship? Here you know how to worship. You pour water there, you put flowers here, you put this. How will you worship others? Human beings, Shiva and all these beings. Through your work. Swakarmana tamam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. Swami Ranganathanji was fond of this line from the Gita. By worshipping the Lord through one's work, one attains illumination. What work? The work that you are doing. Swami Vivekananda, he extended it further. Not only the work that you are doing. If you are an executive, you can do it. In your professional, if you are a teacher, you can do it in the classroom. If you are a family man, you can do it in the family. Those you are with, you worship them through your action. The Lord is present in all beings, and I offer my action as worship. Don't tell them, I've heard a practical Vedanta lecture. From now on, I'm going to worship you. No, they'll think you're crazy. They'll say, lay off that Hindu temple thing for a while. So, don't tell them. It's an internal spiritual attitude. You will see immediately you will get a lot of peace, a lot of joy. When you worship the divine in all beings. Knowing yourself to be divine, worship the divine in all beings. Through your action. Which action? The work that we do. Not only the work that we do. Here is one little extension which Vivekananda brought about in practical Vedanta. He saw when he walked around India, immense poverty. A country colonized by a foreign power. Ignorance, superstition, oppression in the name of caste and wealth and position. Masses were oppressed, women were oppressed. Swami Vivekananda said, the two great national sins of India. Two great national sins of India. He says, the oppression of the masses and the neglect of the women. That's why India has fallen so low. And he came to this country and see how he kept on learning. He kept on learning. He absorbed the ideals of dignity of the masses. He absorbed the ideals of equal education, and although at that time women did not have equality in this country also. But the condition he saw, how education can make such a big change. Look at this, Vivekananda uses Vedanta to uplift an entire nation. Not a nation, nations. He said, a religion which promises me heaven after death and cannot wipe the widow's tears in this life, I don't care for such a religion. He says, to teach metaphysics to a starving man is an insult. Religion which cannot provide a piece of bread to a starving person, is it worth the name? That means, how, it's just stunning words. It's said of Vivekananda's words that if you hear them, a sleeping man, bed, sleeping man will sit up, sitting man will stand up, and standing man will start running. If you hear them. Usually the effect of lectures is opposite. Standing man will sit down, sitting man will fall asleep. But Vivekananda's lectures are just the opposite. He started this. He said, Seva, Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. He says, let Seva be a philosophy of life. I am here to give. I have taken enough. And there are people who came to this, I was in Pittsburgh recently, they were giving us the boat tour. Carnegie, there's a very interesting story, how he made up his mind. He started off as a messenger boy or something in the company, in his father's company or something. But he made up his mind, I'm going to devote half my life to earn immense wealth, and the other half to giving it away. And he did exactly that. This said that I think, so more than 2,000 libraries across the United States bear his name. Not just libraries, theaters, such public institutions. See the spirit of philanthropy. But here Vivekananda is talking about a spirit of philanthropy as a spiritual philosophy. The highest spiritual philosophy. So he came back to India, established schools and hospitals and relief centers which continue till today. Not only in Ramakrishna Mission, but it became a philosophy for others also. At that time, traditional Vedanta was monks and pandits will teach Vedanta but no particular involvement with society. You give me alms, bhiksha, I will give you a lecture on Vedanta, pravachan. That was the job of Mahatma. School, college, no. This is not the job of a Mahatma.
People are suffering. That is their karma. Vivekananda was particularly tough on this. If it is their karma to suffer, it is your karma to help. So he gave this philosophy of service. And you see what a great change. Nobody gives him credit for this. 100 years later, in India today, if you go, any ashram, one of the questions you're bound to ask is, what work are you doing for people? It's taken that service, an ashram, spiritual people will have some kind of service component. It will be there, it's a part of spirituality. It was not so 100 years ago. Recently, one of the Shankaracharyas, not recently, 15 years ago, he visited Belur Math, our main monastery, and I was a young novice then. So we all sat around the Shankaracharya, and he asked about what? School and college and hospital. The traditional bastions of Advaita Vedanta, they are also interested in the service activities now. These are not secular activities, these are also Vedanta. Tattvamasi is Vedanta. But the Tattvamasi you see in all beings, and you worship the patient through medicine. In our hospital in Benares, so it's a hospital. Doctors and the nurses and the monks, they all work treating the patient. But once in a year, one day in a year, the monks will go around in the wards and actually worship the patients like this, with flower and incense and food of them, bhoga. Rest of the year, injection and medicine and all. But the spirit is this. It's not social service. People say, "Aap bahut badhiya social service. You do a wonderful social service." I say, "They don't do social service. Not at all." The work that I do, when I do puja in the temple, when I go out and teach students, I was in a school. Teach students in the classroom, when I type letters in the office, it is all for me service of that one consciousness in all beings. So this is the grand doctrine of practical Vedanta, which Swami Vivekananda brought out, emphasized. Sister Nivedita says in her introduction to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, she says, Gita, Upanishads, all these would have been there if Swami Vivekananda had not come. It was there. Sanatana Dharma has been there for thousands of years. So what's the uniqueness, speciality of Vivekananda? He says, she writes, it is this grand teaching of the oneness of the one and the many are the same reality, seen by different spiritual practitioners at different levels. One and the many are the same reality, one divine consciousness, many means us. It is the same thing, which you realize as Satchidananda Brahma, which you with your open eyes you see as men and women, as Vivekananda said, my God the poor, my God the sick, my God the wicked, he says. And it's not rhetoric, he means it literally. He finds Shiva in all of them. Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. So this is the form of practical Vedanta. Sister Nivedita says, no longer a division between the sacred and the secular. To labor is to pray. To have and hold is as sacred a trust as to quit and renounce. The shop floor, the schoolroom, the factory are equally worthy places of the meeting of man and God as the cell of a monk. She says science and art, they are also ways of meeting God, just like religion. Otherwise, why would Vivekananda, somebody told me that in Tata Institute in Bangalore, the Institute of Science, they have a big plaque there, Tata's letter to Vivekananda. On a ship to America, even before he became known, so famous as Vivekananda. Tata was also coming at that time to America, Jamshedji. And Vivekananda was there. And they had a talk. And Vivekananda is telling this person, a monk is telling a businessman, that you should start something for fundamental research in science in India. What is the connection? The connection is this practical Vedanta. There is no difference. That which will uplift masses of people from superstition and poverty and hunger, that's spirituality. Is that not spirituality? Only chanting mantras and putting water and flowers, is that spirituality? No. They are all equal spiritual activity. So anyway, I think I have made my point. In a few minutes, let's have a little bit of question and answers. and then we will bring it to a close. Let me do a peace chant first. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Namaste. Question. I think I can hear you if you ask the question. Stand up and yes, please ask. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Devdas Mukherjee.
Yes.
I am a scientist, retired. But whenever I was working in my field, cancer, my main aim was this: how to work the hypothesis that I am creating, and then doing the experiment, and then getting the results, how it will help Paramatma, human being. And I felt always very ignorant person, very uncouth also. I always used to go to my lab with that prayer in my heart of hearts, that God guide me, such that the work that I am doing in my little way, it affects positively.
That is true. It's wonderful. That is the attitude of Karma Yoga. Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva. Anybody else? Yes, the young man. Please tell us your name and ask the question.
My name is Vasudev.
Yes.
Can you please tell why Swami Vivekananda, or why he left his life at the age of 39? What happened?
What happened? Hasid. If you read his life, you see that his health was really broken by that time. Tremendous hardship. Even here, there of course, hunger, traveling all over India, mostly by foot, in the Himalayas. And here, if you see his schedule, it's incredible. In those days, more than 100 years ago, 125 years ago, this is the 125th year of the Chicago World Parliament of Religions. So 125 years ago, traveling across the length and breadth of this country. This is not a country, it's a continent. By train, by wagon, and delivering lectures. In those days, lectures was without this. Standing and speaking without this. Imagine the amount of energy that it took just across the country. And I've forgotten the number of lectures which used. That means it was usually more than one per day, and hours together. And his lecture was not just lecturing. He says, "Do you think I've just lectured? I have given something in that country." So his health broke down. He had diabetes. He also had a mild stroke, I think, before he passed away in Amarnath, when he felt at his heart, what do you call it, enlargement. So, all of these. And he knew it. He said, "I will not live to see 40. Is to say, I will not live to see 40. He exerted himself tremendously. I will not live to see 40. And when he died, he was 39 years old. And he died on 4th of July. He loved America so much. He loved liberty so much. He actually selected it. He told one of his disciples in Belur Math that, the auspicious days according to the Hindu calendar. And when he came to the date corresponding to the 4th of July that year, he said, "Stop." So the book was marked at that and kept there. Once he was walking in front of the little tree under which he would meditate. And he told Swami Premananda, that's in Belur Math, on the bank of the Ganga, "When I die, cremate me here, burn my body here." He thought, die means what he's doing quite well. He's not, his health is improving actually. And why die? He is only 39. Few days later he passed away. And that's where he was cremated. And then the temple of Vivekananda is there, and that you can see that. There is a mystical reason, if you like, that approach. Sri Ramakrishna had said many, many years ago that in a vision he had seen a mass of light and then 7 sages, the Saptarshi of Indian mythology, 7 sages meditating. It's a spiritual vision. So 7 enlightened beings meditating, lost in eternal meditation. And a little child, the form of a child, comes out of that mass of light and goes to one of those sages and awakens him from that meditation. That people in the world are suffering. I am going to help them. Won't you come with me? After entreating so many times, that sage opened his eyes and acknowledged that yes, I will go. And Sri Ramakrishna used to say, that sage is born in the house of Vishwanath in Shimla in Calcutta as this boy Narendranath. Of course, Narendranath thought Sri Ramakrishna was mad. What craziness. And when Narendranath first met Sri Ramakrishna bowed down to him. I bow down to Narurupi Narayana and the sage who has come for the welfare of the world. Where were you all these years? My ears are burning with the talk of worldly people. And Naren thought, I am the son of Vishwanath Datta, this man is mad. But he told, Sri Ramakrishna told others, the day Naren knows who he is, he will not live in this body anymore. And few days before he passed away, somebody asked Vivekananda, that we read this story, so do you know who you are? And Swamiji became very grave. He said, now I know. Few days later he passed away. Yes.
So
is there a follow-up?
Yes. So does he not, when he was giving the speeches in America or in all these places, does he not realize who he was?
Who he was in two senses. One is that we are Satchidananda, he knows that.
Okay.
That he knows. But in a Vedanta you have to see in two levels. You are Satchidananda. What's your name?
Basu.
Basu. You are Satchidananda. As I am, as everybody is. As those deities also are. But in this particular form you are Basu. And you have, as we believe in Hinduism, many past lives also. Which you do not remember. But you have. You are an ancient being that way. Now at this level, this is called Vyavaharika, transactional level. At this transactional level, who is Vivekananda? Satchidananda, no doubt. But in what form is that Rishi? So that one when he realizes that I am that being. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna said. That's the yes. The gentleman there.
Samrat.
Yes.
The question I have is, I guess we are all consciousness and we get conditioned to body and mind and conditioned to nature, and
correct.
If all of us did not have this problem, we would hope that we would not have so much of suffering in this world. Now, I guess my question is, and Swamiji Vivekananda in his address to Parliamentary Religions, he says that Hindu is very honest, and the question to this, he does not say, he says that I don't know the answer to this, why we get conditioned to nature. But he says, the Hindu says he doesn't have the answer. He does not say that I don't have that answer. So I guess it's hard for me to believe that Swamiji did not have that answer. So I don't think we would have a better person than you to answer, to get it, to have it
yes.
on this. So my question is, on your take on why we get conditioned to body, mind and nature.
Very good question. It is a subject for one more talk. So 10 o'clock, ask to 10 bajayega. No, don't worry. I will answer, but I will compress it into a few sentences. First of all, body and mind and this individual being is not a problem. Not a problem. Many people say, if we were Satchidananda, that was nice. Why all this? This is not a problem. Tell me, if the gold is made into a bracelet, and gold is the reality, the bracelet or necklace is the ornament. Is the bracelet or necklace a problem? No. Water comes as waves. When it is a wave, it is water. Before that it was water. When it is a wave, it is water. When it subsides, wave subsides, it's still water. Wave is not a problem. It is a form of water. This body and mind is a form of Satchidananda. Is it the second step of Advaita? First step was, I am not body, not mind, I am pure consciousness. Second step, everything, including body, including mind, is nothing but Satchidananda. Now, so body and mind is not the problem. Then what is the problem? The problem is thinking that I am only body and mind and not knowing my Satchidananda nature. If you know your Satchidananda nature, body is fine, body will serve its purpose. Eyes are there, you can see, ears are there, you can hear. All of this you are enjoying Brahman as sight and sound and smell and taste and touch. You are enjoying Brahman as friends and enemies. All of that is also Brahman. No problem there. Problem is when not knowing that you are Brahman. So in Vedanta the problem is ignorance. The problem is not names and forms. Names and forms are wonderful. These are the jewels, the ornaments of God. Upadhi is good. Only when you are enlightened. Did Vivekananda not have a body? Did Sri Ramakrishna not have a body? They had bodies. Are the bodies a problem for them? Not at all. Luckily they had a body, then they could come and teach them. So, then what is the question? The question is, you say ignorance is the problem. So body and mind is not the problem. Enlightened person, if you become an enlightened person, this body and mind also is wonderful. It's an instrument to express your divinity. Now, the problem is, why then are we ignorant? Why do we not know that we are Satchidananda? Why are we under this what is called spell of Maya? This is the question to which Vivekananda says, the Hindu says no. But the Hindus answer there, it's a very simple way of putting it. If you ask deeper, I have answered this on occasion, but very quickly I'll give it to you and see if you make sense of it. Why is all this happening? Because of Maya. Satchidananda appearing in this way. If you ask why Maya, then Swami Vivekananda said in different places, the question itself is wrong. But you can ask, like a persistent little child, why is the question wrong? Why is there Maya at all? And the answer is, which I personally feel, Vivekananda just said it's a question is wrong. It's something obvious to Vivekananda, not obvious to us. Why is the question wrong? Why can I not ask, why is there Maya at all? The answer is this. What is Maya? Maya is time, space, causation. Desha, kala, nimitta. When you are asking why Maya, what are you asking? Why causation? What is causation? Cause and effect. When you ask why, you are asking for a cause. Why is it wet? It rained. Why did it rain? Because of clouds. Why are there clouds? Because of evaporation. Why is there evaporation? Because of the sun. Because. Why? Because. If you ask, so for a cause you will get an answer. But if you ask for a cause of causation, that's what you are asking when you ask why Maya. What is the cause of causation? Causation starts, after that you can ask cause and effect. But before causation, without causation, how can you ask why is the cause? It's a logically wrong question. It's like saying, what was there before time started? But before and after a time words, you follow me? What is there outside space? Outside and inside are space words. You have accepted space, then only question comes outside and inside. You have accepted time, then only question comes before and after. Similarly, it's illogical to ask, why causation? You have accepted causation, then only you can ask why. So within Maya you can ask why, you will get an answer. But about Maya itself you cannot ask why. The answer given in Uttarakhand, sadhus, you know what answer they gave? This question will be asked. If you understand Vedanta, you will ask this question surely. The answer they give is, Maya ko agyan, they say Maya means agyan, ignorance. Agyan ko siddha mat karo, agyan ko kato. Don't try to establish ignorance, try to remove ignorance. So try to find out what is knowledge and use knowledge to remove ignorance. Don't try to investigate why ignorance is there. You will never find any answer. Swami Vivekananda, I think. One of the early Swamis in the West Coast, he gave, or Asheshanji maybe, he said something so beautiful. He said, on this side of Maya, in ignorance, we have the question, no answer. On that side, for the enlightened person, they have the answer, no question. But somebody asked Swami Vivekananda this question actually. It's in the company, you read it yourself, in the conversations with Swami Vivekananda. One of the disciples asked. Vivekananda was very pleased with him in Belur Math. Ask me for anything, I will give you a boon. And then, we believe he's a very avatar of Shiva. So, he said, I have a question. Alright, ask. Today I will answer all your questions. What is Maya? Please explain. And Swamiji said, don't ask this question, ask something else. Then that disciple said, getting a guru like you, Vivekananda, if I don't get the answer to this question, then I will never get the answer in my life. I want to answer to this question only. And then Vivekananda started speaking. It's in the reminiscence of that person. Vivekananda started speaking. And this person said, the whole room spun around and disappeared into light. My body disappeared into light. Vivekananda's form disappeared. It's like my personality fell apart when Vivekananda was speaking. What Vivekananda was speaking, he did not write down, unfortunately. And then I said, I could hear Vivekananda's voice, I could hear my voice. He says, I said to Vivekananda, oh Swami, all this is Maya then. Even your Ramakrishna Mission and all the work that you are doing, it's all Maya. And he said it in Bengali. You know, in Indian languages we have these different grades of the pronouns you use. Aap, tum, tu, apni, tumi. Now for a superior, like a guru, you should say apni, aap. He saw that he had used the word tumi, tum. And immediately he felt that, the distinction. He's my guru. Why did I say tumi? Moment he felt that, the whole world snapped back into view. Vivekananda was sitting there and smiling at him. And he said, yes, you are right. It is all Maya. If you understand that, gain liberation and be free. If you cannot, then come and help in this work. Good question. How are we? Time is up. At least let's hear the questions. One or two questions, but quickly. The gentleman there.
Swami, my name is Anish, and we all are one consciousness, but sometimes we come across wicked or bad people. Should we stand against them, or should we just let them do what they are doing? Because we are basically one consciousness.
True. Now, thank you. The question comes up. Remember, wickedness, goodness, all of that is in the mind. True or not? The wickedest person and the finest person, when they fall asleep, deep sleep, is the wicked person wicked or is the fine person fine? No. The mind is shut down. Again, wake up, same thing will be there. Consciousness is the witness of both. It's a particular conditioning of the mind which makes a person immoral, selfish, cruel, wicked. It's a particular condition which makes a person virtuous. And that condition is good. That will help you towards spirituality. That this will entrap the person further and further in samsara, and a lot of harm will be done by that person. So should you stand up to such a person? Of course, again Vivekananda. Vivekananda was asked, what should we do when we see the strong oppress the weak? And Vivekananda said, why? Thrash the strong, of course. What should you do when you see the strong oppress the weak? Thrash the strong. Not for yourself, but for others, certainly one. And one good way of answering these questions is the persons you consider to be enlightened, spiritual, highly evolved, what do they do in life? If you actually look at what Vivekananda did, or Ramana Maharshi did, or Ramakrishna did, you'll get the answer to the question. Okay. Gentleman there. Yes, you. Yeah.
Years ago, when we were children, maybe 56 years, we found...
I'll go to the lady at the back there after this, yes.
Yeah, baby was all around, and probably unknowingly, we took it in from the surroundings, from the relatives. As the time grew, in the modern time where materialism has probably gripped the humanity more and more focused and consumed a lot of time, particularly for the coming generation, children. What is your message? How to balance it?
Yes. You are right. It is a more materialistic world. And yet Vivekananda saw this. And he wanted it. You will be shocked. When he went back to India, he was accompanied by Sister Nivedita. When they reached. So she had heard so much about India from Vivekananda. She was an Irish woman. And she was a well-known educationist herself, advanced thinker in those days. When she saw the coast of India for the first time from the ship, she was delighted and she said to Swamiji, Swamiji, how peaceful, how wonderful. And Swami Vivekananda was, he immediately scolded her. He said, no, this is the peace of the grave. People are tamasic, they are ignorant, half-fed, starving, superstitious, controlled by a foreign power, the British government at that time. This is not peace. It looks like peace. It's because of the tamasicness. So he said that the country must awaken and progress through rajas into sattva, through dynamism, through maybe ambition, maybe greed, maybe these things are in front of you, I want this. Alright, try it out. And then develop into spirituality. It's not only for a nation, but it's also true for mass of human beings. Very few are born with the samskaras which take them straight away, they understand what this world is. Others have to experience a little bit. Vivekananda was impatient. He would drag people to Sri Ramakrishna and make him spiritual. And Sri Ramakrishna would say, not unless the time has come. He could, how many Vivekanandas did Ramakrishna create? One only. And many other spiritual people, but all according to their level of growth. This was a very touching incident. One man, he came for Mantra Diksha with Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna blessed him with a vision of God, with a vision of Ishta Devata. He had a mystical experience. And then it went away. And Sri Ramakrishna said, that is all for this life. But this vision will haunt you through your life, and next life you will become God. So, materialism is not bad. It will lead to progress and development, remove poverty, and bring many more problems. There is problem of poverty, problem of plenty. One is problem of malnourishment and starvation, which India is seeing, and now we are seeing problem of obesity. Yes, it is happening. So, the thing to do is to transfer the spiritual knowledge to the next generation. So it is there. Those who want it, they can get it. That is the role of these temples, of these talks, of these organizations. So if you want the best for your children, grandchildren, and for people of this community, and also for the larger nation, try to transmit spirituality, not just conventional religion. Conventional religion, the problem is lots and lots of young people nowadays have no interest. There was a survey conducted, which religion do you belong to in America? And so I think nearly 20-25%. That's a huge number. They said none. We don't belong to any organized religion. So are they not spiritual? They have a hunger, but they don't want to be involved in any kind of this temple, church, mosque business. But they want the teachings. So this has to be kept in mind. The lady there. Please ask from there and say, yes, I can hear. Your voice.
You said...
What's your name?
I'm Jayashri.
Jayashri.
You said consciousness, the second concept you gave after Charvaka, consciousness created man.
Yes, that's the religious idea that in all religions, God created the universe, yes.
Okay, so that's across Abrahamic religions as well as...
the Hindu, the Indic religions, all the theistic religions. See, all religions do not believe in God. That's a surprising thing for people in this country. In India, we know there are religions like Jainism, Mahavir is there, right there, sitting there, Lord Mahavir. So, Jainism, Buddhism, they don't believe in God. So they don't think that God created the universe. But every other religion, including Hinduism, the theistic, so the Vaishnavites or the Shaivites, we have various brands of theistic approaches in Hinduism. Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Shaktaism. In every case, whether it's Divine Mother or Vishnu or Shiva, creator of the universe.
But the Vedas fundamentally proclaim Advaita, is that correct?
Yes. That is our view. Listen, I am coming from an Advaita school. So, yes, but in general, these are the approaches. So this approach, so your question is that how do you reconcile these two?
Yeah, that, and then, I want to understand the distinctions between Abrahamic religion and religions and...
That's a big question.
Because it seems to me Abrahamic religions do not have the element of consciousness as an entity.
Yeah, but basically when I say, this is something I got from a Swami in the Himalayas. He says when they say that God created the universe, is that a conscious God or an unconscious God? Conscious God. So the question was, what is the relationship between consciousness and universe? So did consciousness emerge from an unconscious universe? Science, materialism says that, Charvaka says that. Religion says universe emerged from a consciousness which you call God. You can call Father in heaven or Jehovah or Allah, whatever you call it. Or in our traditions, in our dualistic traditions, we call it Shiva or Vishnu or Devi. Yeah. I can see there's some other questions bothering you.
So in in the second consciousness created matter, in that also there is Sivajnana, Jiva Seva.
No, because it will not work. For example, the Abrahamic religions. God created the universe, but God is not immanent in the universe. So is there God here? No. The universe is something other than God. In Hinduism alone, you have this, what is called transcendent and immanent. Swami Vivekananda says, we Hindus worship a transcendent, immanent God. Transcendent beyond this universe. Immanent in and through everything in this universe. So the Hindu can say, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Brahman alone is everything. Advaitin also will say it, Vishishtadvaitin also will say it. In some sense, Dvaitin also will say it. A devotee will say, my Krishna is present in the heart of everybody. But do we say that? My Gopal is present in everybody. So that is the idea of immanence, indwelling of God. God is here and also beyond, but here also. But in the Abrahamic religions, God is apart from all of this. So Shiva, Jnana, Jiva, Shiva will not work there so well. There the closest one will be, they are all God's children, so I serve them. Or they are all God's people, so I serve them. That is the closest you can get. Not that God is in that being. That would be, in fact, be blasphemous in some of the religions. Okay, good question.
Last question.
Yes, the lady here.
Last question. Yeah, my name is Indra, and I have a question about meditation. So I paint a lot. So while I'm meditating, all my thoughts are about mostly painting. So how I can?
Right. Reverse that. When you paint something, offer it to God. Suppose you worship God in a particular form, as Krishna or Devi or Shiva. Now mentally say, all my painting I'm offering as a worship. So when I'm painting, I'm worshipping God. And when I'm meditating on God. So instead of painting-centered life, it will become God-centered life. I met a lady in Tucson. She's a painter. And she has continued painting, but she's a devotee, a Vedantist. But she has continued painting and whole life goes in that painting. But she has connected these two. And as a result, now, mostly she paints pictures of she's a white American lady, of Ma Sharada, of the different forms of the divine feminine, of Saraswati or Kali or the Mother Mary, like that. So now see how she's carrying on with her painting. But she offers this to God and connects it directly to God. That's why I just mentioned, Sister Nivedita said, Swami Vivekananda, she said, he told us, that means Nivedita, that you can realize God through religion, art and science. But it takes Advaita to understand this. I am quoting exactly Sister Nivedita's words. That means what we are doing through Vedanta and meditation and prayer and puja, you can actually do through painting also. But not automatically, it will not happen automatically. The attitude has to be there. You can do it through science. We have a monk, you might have heard of her. He is the first monk to get the highest science award in India, Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award. He also got the Infosys Award 2 years ago. He is a topologist, Mahan Maharaj. He is a high-class mathematician, world-class geometry, topology. Now, he is doing mathematics. He has actually been requisitioned by the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Mumbai. They want this monk, they said, they wrote to our monastery, please give us this monk for 3 years. So he's there. Now he's doing research. But how is he combining with spirituality? He says, this is my seva to Sri Ramakrishna. That talent God has given me. I am not asking for money. I am not asking for recognition. I don't want to be head of department. I don't want to be given all this money and all of that. He's giving. He's given, but he immediately donates it. He does not give. So he's connecting. See, if he can connect mathematics to Vedanta spirituality, you can easily connect to painting to spirituality. But we'll end with this one. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.